Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to Army Public School PMA Kakul Resource Network. Students, I am your teacher Safina Jahanzeb. Before we start our today's subject science, please subscribe the page and click the bell icon. In our today's subject, we are going to discuss about the nature and environmental factors of any habitat. So, students, we will focus on all those environmental factors which will affect the nature of any habitat. Students, now in this slide, we are going to read about the second chapter of the book. The name of the chapter is Introducing Habitat. Students, in prior presentation, we have discussed about the definition of the habitat, the most common types of habitats. Now we are going to discuss about the basic introduction of habitat. Students, here are some major environmental factors of any habitat. So, we will discuss about all those environmental factors which affect nature of any habitat. Students, now we will discuss how many types of environmental factors of habitats. Students, there are basically two types of environmental factors of habitat. The first type of environmental factor of habitat is called living factors. And the second type of environmental factors of habitat is called non-living or physical factors. Students, in living factors, we will discuss about the availability of food and the presence of other organisms. In non-living or physical factors, first of all, we will read about temperature, water, then we will discuss about light, air, and in the last, we will briefly know about the nature of any soil. Dear students, now in this slide we are going to discuss about all those factors, living factors, which are going to affect nature of any habitat. So, living factors of a habitat. Any habitat where the living organisms try to affect nature of habitat is called living factors. So the first point which we are going to discuss in living factors of a habitat is availability of food. As we are aware of that, plants can make their own food, but animals have to struggle to find food. Some animals depend on plants for food, and some animals eat other animals. So, in this way, animals have to compete with one another for food. If animals cannot get food in a habitat, they cannot survive. So, in this way, students, we can say that all living organisms depend on each other to survive in any habitat. Example: seagull is a bird which has to compete with others for food. Same like that, other all types of animals also compete in any habitat to survive and to get food. Students, here in this slide, we will discuss about the second point of the living factors of a habitat. So the second point is other organisms. We will see how an organism is responsible or how any organism help out to disperse or to expand the population of any other organism. So the presence of the other organisms in a habitat can affect the survival of a population. Some organisms depend on one another. If we will discuss it through example, trees provide food and shelter for some forest animal. In turn, the animals that feed on the fruits of the trees help to disperse the seeds to other places. So now it's quite clear how an organism is responsible to disperse the seeds of or population of that organism in other habitats. So students, now we are going to discuss the next point of non-living or physical environmental factors. The next factor is about temperature. Students, we will see how much temperature is necessary for any environment. So temperature. The temperature of an environment is a measure of how warm or cold it is. If temperature is too high, plants and animals may lose too much water. If the temperature is too low, they may die from cold or lack of water because the water may freeze. So it shows that temperature matters a lot for the existence of animal in any habitat. Examples are extreme warm temperature of desert habitat, extreme cold temperature of Arctic habitat. So students, we can say that temperature of any habitat affects the survival of organisms in that habitat a lot. The next point which we are going to read in non-living or physical environmental factors is water. Students, as we know, the presence of water in any habitat is very essential. Without water, life cannot exist. So now we will discuss how much water is important in any habitat. Water. All organisms need water to survive. The amount of water in habitat depends on how much it rains. Some organisms get their water from ponds or river. Now we will see water as source of life. Some organisms, such as frogs, need a lot of water to survive. Some organisms, such as fishes, live in water. and these organisms cannot survive without presence of water. Some organisms such as the cactus can survive with little water. So it shows that presence of water is very important for all types of organisms. So students, now we are going to discuss the next point of non-living or physical environmental factors. How much light is important in any habitat and how much light is important for organisms which are going to exist in that habitat. So now let's start to know about the presence or importance of light in a habitat. First of all, presence of light or importance of light for plants. As we know, light or sunlight is very important for all types of plants. Plants can survive in the presence of sunlight. Plants are able to make their food in the presence of sunlight. So, plants need sunlight to make food. The amount of sunlight in a habitat can determine the type of plants that live there. This will in turn affect the types of animals found in the habitat. Now, presence of light for animals. Light is important for animals as well. Most animals need light to move around and to find food. However, some animals such as bats and worms can live in complete darkness. Students, some sort of animals need too much amount of light. They can survive, they can live, and they can move around in the presence of light. But some sort of animals such as worms, earthworms, which need less amount of light, because in the presence of too much light it gets dry and cannot survive in such type of habitats. So now we are going to discuss next point or next factor of non-living or physical environmental factors. So now we will discuss about importance of air in a habitat. How much air is important for the survival of organisms in a habitat. Students, we know air is very essential for all types of organisms in a habitat. So first of all, we will see how much air is important for plants. Air is very necessary for plants because in the presence of carbon dioxide, they will be able to make their food. Second, for animals. Air is equally necessary for animals. Oxygen is the basic need of animals for respiration. For sea animals. In water habitat, the plants and animals get oxygen and carbon dioxide from air dissolved in the water. So in this way we can say that air is equally important for all types of sea animals. Now for mountainous organisms. High altitude regions such as mountains, there is less oxygen and carbon dioxide in the air, so fewer organisms can live there. In short, we can say that air is very essential for all types of organisms which are existing over the earth. Students, now we have the last point or the last slide of the lecture. So, the last point which we are going to discuss in non living or physical environmental habitat is soil. How much soil is important for animals and for plants? Soil is important for plants' growth and to the animals that live in them. Importance of soil for plants. Plants get their water and nutrients from the soil. Different plants need different types of soil to survive. Now, importance of soil for animals. The type of soil determines the types of animals that can live in them. For example, earthworms live in loose soil such as garden soil. So, soil is equally important for plants and animals in any habitat. So, students, it was my today's lecture. Hopefully, you have got each and every point related to the topic. Students, now I would like to say goodbye to everyone and keep remember me in your prayers. Thank you so much and Allah Hafiz.